Bang, the Desert Territory,
Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is March the 21st. Happy New Year to the heirs. It is 1442 on the ancient moon calendar and 1441 on the ancient sun calendar and 2021 on the ancient Greco-Roman calendar. And know that we have calendars for everything. So if, you know,
Grand Rising.
If anyone, Grand Rising. I do want to start with questions if anyone has any questions about any of the demonstrations that you're doing. And then if not, you know, we can go into our discussion. Are there any questions about demonstrations, about anything that you've seen, or anything of that nature? Because in reality, these calls are for all of us to get the information that we need so that we can continue standing and governing on our vast estate and doing the things that we need to do in order to continue to possess the vast estate. So, here's mine. If there are no questions at this time, and also if you have questions down the road, then feel free to star 6 and ask those questions from the heirs Islam. It is our new year, and I will say this, everything in the energies, in the stars, and in all that is out there, because out there is a manifestation of what's within us, is proclaiming that now is our time. Now is our time. And when I say now is our time, that is actually, it's a general statement, but it's also a literal manifestation in this realm and in this dimension state, where we will and we do possess all that belongs to the heirs in this dimension. That is, and this is what I'm seeing in what we're doing, that is going to be, we have to implement the processes in order for possession and this transition to take place. It's already started, well on its way. It has started and you know, it's well underway. And now we just need to continue moving in the direction that we're moving. So in the past few weeks, we were discussing actually the contracting and things like that. We talked about that. We talked about the banking. We talked about the finance. We talked about all of that. So what we're doing now is we're going to be moving into more so into that area. There are some things that, of course, as always, there are some things that we need to do before we begin operating in that area. We've done the majority of the work already. Most moors have terminated all corporate contracts, etc. For those who have not done that, do it, because where we're going at this point is that you cannot have corporate contracts, because then that will put you on Grand Rising, because that will put you on a side that you don't want to be on. You can't be sovereign and a citizen at the same time. And where the government, and when I say government, I'm always talking about us, because there's no other government. Where our Moorish government contracts come into play is that the contracting mechanism that we have put in place is going to enable us to get the things that we need as the law and as the government. And those who have worked in contracting under the corporate structure, you will know what I'm talking about when I say that you can't be on both sides of the table. You cannot be on both sides of the table, so you have to terminate the corporate contract if you want to move further. And the reason being is that we're moving in our sovereign status, and everything that we get cannot be attached to the corporates at all, or it is taxable. Because remember, all citizens, all subjects and citizens, you know, they owe taxes to us, you know, and so you don't want to be on that side of, you know, and when I say on that side, you don't want to have any corporate contracts. You want to move completely sovereign. Now, what does that have to do with where we are right now? Where we are right now is this. The ancestors are ready to continue opening up the vast estate to us. We have to show them, and really we're showing ourselves, because we're the ancestors' return. We're not a representation of the ancestors. We are the ancestors' return. And so we need to show and know within ourselves, and as the law and as the government, that we can govern even what we have right now. And right now, where everyone is right now, no matter where you are in life, so to speak, or where you are stationed on
Keep drinking your
land,
special Kool-Aid there, Pauline.
Landmass right now. Wherever you are, it doesn't matter where you are in life, we have to, this is the kickoff point where we govern what we have first so that more can be added to what we're doing. Okay? And in order to properly govern anything that you have right now, we have to get the corporates off of what we have right now so that we can bring in more sovereign resources. Okay? So what we want to do is ensure that the corporate contracts are indeed, you know, cut, and that everything that we have right now, we're moving sovereignly and allodially. Okay? Sovereignly and allodially. So that's going to make room for the new and the resources and things like that. So, you know, more, when we're talking about being tested, and that's what's going on right now, is testing to see, have we, you know, done everything? Have we, and are we willing to stand? That's what's happening right now, is the shaking. And the shaking is, it's at different levels for different Moors, but some have, you know, are ready, and others are still being ready, but we're all moving still as one. When we're being tested, we need to know that the ancestors, they work through us first, and then they can open up and do everything that we need. They can provide the things that we need. But they want to see us work first. That's a great question in the chat. Justice Jade asks, are we yet at the point where we can trade using the gold standard, such as being able to pay others for services? We're there. There are, and the answer to that question as a whole is yes, we're there. Are we paying others, or are we just transferring sovereign credits to account for what is on the vast estate? Because paying indicates that we don't own it, and we're paying somebody for it so that we can have it, and that's not what we're doing. So the concepts have to be clear before each one of us can move further. And when as the concepts clear up for certain Moors, for all Moors, as the concepts clear up, and we speak our own sovereign language, then the ancestors will open up some more doors so you can see, okay, my concepts are clear on that. I know how to demonstrate that. Okay, now let me move forward. And the ancestors will say, okay, this is where you go next. So, and before we pay, and it's not pay, but before resources are given to anyone, and see, we're not going to be paying the dead. We're not going to be transferring sovereign credits back and forth to the dead. We're going to be transferring sovereign credits back and forth to each other, because all of us are commerce oriented, because that's what's in our blood. Okay. We're preparing. There are still some other things that we need to do in terms of every more being able to pull out a device and transfer the sovereign credits back and forth. We know the infrastructure is already there. We know that already. That's where we're going. All of this is geared towards that. When we first started, when we talked about the gold standard and the 666 trillion, that laid that I won't say laid the foundation, because our ancestors already did that, but it opened up a level of activity in both in the heavens and on earth, so that when we stated that the heirs are awake and we know that everything belongs to us, and so now that was the basis for where we're going now, where more needed to, okay, say no more corporate contracts, and that needed to happen earth-wide, and guess what? It did. When we said no more corporate contracts, the whole earth stopped trading with the United States corporation companies. They stopped. They cut the corporate contracts, and all they're doing is saying, okay, we did what you said, Moors. Are y'all, are your contracts cut? Are your contracts cut? And so, just one moment. Are your contracts, terminated? And it's presumed contracts to begin with. They're not even real contracts. They're not valid. So, in answer to your question, the concept in the question does need to be clarified, but the answer to the question is yes. We do have to continue to move in the way that we're moving now. There are more who've terminated corporate contracts. We need more and more to do that so that we can move the sovereign credits back and forth. And there are some there's some mechanisms, some physical mechanisms that we're putting in place in order for every Moor to be able to pull out a device and say, 50,000 sovereign credits for this, 30,000 sovereign credits for that, 5,000 sovereign credits for this, 100 sovereign credits for that. That process does need to be completed. And it's really, when we say completed, we use that word sparingly, simply because even the processes that we're moving into are going to need perfecting. And that's an ongoing process. So everything we're doing is an ongoing process. It's almost like everyone's, not everyone, but, a few of the Moors are waiting for some big event to happen. We are these big events. We just have to keep moving like we're moving. Moors need to terminate those corporate contracts, terminate them and leave them terminated, and keep terminating. Keep making the statement that they're terminated, because that's going to be the key to moving to the next level. We're coming upon a time where the heirs are going to, this government, and it's already started, is going to be assigning, and it's not even assigning. The Moors stand and say, I'm this or I'm that. I have the study for this or that. The Moors will stand and say, I've done the study and I'm qualified to contract with other Moors, because that's going to be a key. It's going to be a huge key, because the handoff of the system, that whole government contracting system, is a part of all of this. The handoff of that, and trust and know that that handoff has already started. There are Moorish, thankfully, there are Moorish contracting classes that are already out there. We'll be doing some as well, except ours are going to be geared more toward, it's not going to be anything that, it's working in tandem, in unity with the classes that are already out there. But they're going to be geared more toward ensuring that we stay, and I'm not saying that the other contracting classes aren't saying that, but I'm saying our special emphasis is going to be staying sovereign and allodial while this transition happens. Because, see, the transition looks a lot like, I'll just say this. The reason that the corporates were able to do what they were able to do is because they did a corporate overlay that looked a lot like the original. And some people couldn't tell the difference, but we're doing the same. We're unearthing the original. It's going to look a lot like the corporate, but it's never corporate. It's always going to be original indigenous heirs. For example, even our sovereign-born appellations. They took it and they just put some capital letters and changed the color of the ink and started using that stuff as if they were the heirs. We're changing all of that back. So if someone who, to the untrained eye, it's going to look like Pauline, Denise, Ritchie, and capitis, dimiutio, nolo, in propria, personam, juris, in red ink. It may look to the untrained eye that that's the same, but we know that it's not because of our studies and what we've proven. So the transition is going to be virtually, to the people that are asleep, it's not even going to look like it's a transition. It's going to look the same to them. They're just going to see these faces, you know. But to the Moors who know, to you all, to all of us, the study that we're doing, we have to ensure that everything we do stays sovereign and allodial on its foundation. And everywhere, actually, from the foundation up, it has to, okay, so that the transition is smooth. And we already know that the transition is going to be smooth because it's already happening and we're good. Everyone's fine. We're fine.
Thank God your eggs dried up a long time ago.
In as much as we can be, you know, with the resources that we have. Okay? So that's where we are, and that's why the study that we're all doing in terms of how the Moors write, how the Moors speak, how the Moors are, is so important. That's why it's so important. Because we're moving into the vast estate, the governing of it. We're already governing it, always have been. But now the day-to-day governing we're moving into that part. And that part is important. It's very, very important. Very important. Because we have to be ourselves. We can't be someone else. We all can see how similar, but not really, the corporate stuff looks. It looked similar. That's why everybody was, around the earth, they was like, okay, I guess these are the Americans. But it wasn't. It wasn't us. It was the corporate. So I said all of that to say this, that our study is going to be key as we move into this place that we're moving into. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It's going to be, a transition is just what it says, transition. Transition. The root word is sit, etymologically. Transition and position are similar. They have the same root word. They just have different prefix and suffix. And how you're situated, and it's really not sit, it's situated, because we stand, we don't sit. And where we stand, which is in everything and all things, we have to be prepared for that conceptually. The concept must be clear. And then we have to actually speak the concepts, because we're going to be speaking the concept, and it's, you know, and it's really the law. That's why we have to be clear. It's the law. The law says that the heirs are the government, but the heirs have to speak. We have to speak our own language, which is what I'm speaking right now. It's ancient English. So as we are preparing to move in, and some people might say, I'm ready to, you know, but I feel like I'm ready, but we got to do this together. We have to do it together, so we have to be patient with one another. Okay? And I know other Moors that are ready, you know. But we all have to be clear on our concepts, because we have to be speaking the same language as we move into this contracting. And again, we're not contracting with corporates, we're contracting with one another. And the more I look at the system, the more I see how it's not going to be difficult for us. It's not going to be difficult. But we must have our speech and our writing and everything has to be sovereign. It cannot be corporate stuff.
You're so bullshit.
So it's, this is the place where we've been waiting to get to. We're here. And now we have to move into the governing of the day-to-day resources that we need. And we've been talking about this for weeks.
You'll be moving into jail soon, Pauline. Don't you worry about it.
We, see, I love it. I love it. I love our subjects. I love them so much because they just keep affirming that we're right about everything that we're saying. Or else they wouldn't take their time to be here. We love you. Back to the issue. We are going to have our concepts clear, because we have to be speaking the same language in order to talk with one another contractually. Okay? So in order for us to talk to one another where contracts are concerned and the contracting be as smooth as possible, we have to be speaking the same language. And it can't be corporate language, and it can't be black ink, and it can't be any of that. Okay? And it can't be capital letters, because that's not, the foundational documents can't be capital letters. They just can't be. And as we go, we'll be, like I said earlier, tweaking and, improving and rising, because that's what the grand rising is, in the processes. That's an important question. We're already using the gold standard. We have to know that too. Because let's prove that. For those who are looking at House Joint Resolution, I think it's 133, or which one is that, from 1933, that where House Joint, it's 192, that's what it is, 192, that says that there's no money. Okay? We're already on the gold standard. Everything we've been doing, lean, all of that is gold standard, period. That's what it is. So knowing those things, using those concepts, and speaking those concepts, and doing everything that we do from that point and from that law, because the gold standard is a law. It's not just a concept, it's a law. Everything that we say and do is the law. We can't operate any other way because that's how we said everyone else has to operate. So as far as the contracting piece is concerned, those who have contracting experience already in the corporate system, they already know, and we've had affirmations previously on calls that we've had where they know too already that the that system of contracting that was being used over there is not, they have a backlog of everything. And that's because no one can buy nor sell at this time unless they are us, where governments and nations are concerned. Okay? There's no buying or selling where governments are concerned unless they are the heirs. So we have to move into that space. And again, there's no hurry to move into it, but because we have to do everything competently and we have time. The most important priority for us right now is ensuring that the Moors are sovereign in all that we do, and that everything that we do is completely unattached and detached. And again, we've always been detached from the corporate. But we have to know that as we move forward. Okay? So,
you're detached from reality, bitch.
Just a moment.
How come you're so detached from reality, Pauline?
Just a moment.
How come you can't accept reality, Pauline?
So, just a moment.
What's the matter, Pauline? You can't accept reality? How come you haven't taken over First Avenue, Pauline? Did reality set in that you're not going to get it? I thought you were doing inventory over there. You said a long time ago you were going to do inventory.
Just a moment. So anyway, Morris, what we're doing is definitely going to be moving into that area,
Pauline,
and you know, there's a little bit of, you know, ones that don't want us to move into that area, but we're going to anyway.
Pauline, what's going on?
We don't.
You having trouble with the Albion technology? What happened to mail?
Let's see. Morris, just be patient with me for just one moment, or just be patient with the technology for a moment. Just one moment.
Where's Janaya? Never hear from Janaya anymore.
There we go.
And what happened to Delilah? I actually talked to Delilah, and Delilah said, "You anymore."
Be quiet. Be quiet. This is
Fuck
not your
off,
meeting. Be quiet.
I don't need to be quiet.
Be quiet. It's not your meeting. Be quiet. If it wasn't true, you wouldn't be here. If it wasn't true, you wouldn't be here. That's why you keep coming every meeting.
Off,
be quiet. Be quiet. Go have your own meeting. Oh, you don't have anything to meet about. Go have your own meeting. Quiet.
I have a meeting.
Be quiet.
I only come to listen to your bullshit.
Quiet.
It's something
good.
Good entertainment. I'm not going to shut up. You shut up.
The only the only reason you're here is because you're jealous because of where we are and where we're going. Be quiet. Just be quiet. Just be quiet.
Do you think that I'm jealous of any of you?
You can be quiet.
Do you think that I'm afraid of you?
If you weren't, you wouldn't be here. You would not be here.
I'm afraid of you? Why haven't you leaned?
Here we go. We're going to ignore you. We're going to ignore you. You're ignored. We're ignoring you.
Pauline, why haven't you leaned?
We're ignoring you. We're ignoring you. Be quiet.
Not ignoring me.
We're ignoring you. Be quiet. We're ignoring you.
Keep talking to me, and I'm not going to be quiet.
Be quiet. Be quiet.
How
you can be quiet.
Haven't leaned me?
Be quiet.
Oh, I thought you had the power to mute me.
Be quiet.
What happened to your magic powers, Pauline?
Be quiet.
Why don't you levitate me?
Be quiet. You can be quiet, because no matter what you say, you're not going to stop us.
You're giving me an awful lot of energy
And in
tonight.
fact, we love you. How about that? We love you.
Yeah, whatever.
We love you. We love you. We love you. Yeah, we do. We love you.
Why don't
We
you
love
lean
you.
me, Pauline?
What do you? Because we love you. That's why.
Why don't you lean
You're
me?
already lean. You're already lean. That's why you're here.
Why am I not
We
in
love you.
May?
We love you. We love you.
Why?
We love you. And you don't get to ask questions here. We're asking the questions. Be quiet.
Yeah, whatever.
You don't get to ask questions. We're asking the questions. State your name and nationality for the record.
Fuck off, bitch. That's my name.
Be quiet.
I'm not going to be quiet.
Exactly. You have no nationality. Be quiet. None of that matters. None of that matters. None of what you're saying matters. There you go.
You went silent for a few minutes.
Just be patient, she'll be back. This guy's a little jealous of us. Because we right and he's wrong. All of them are.
Yeah, I understand.
Taking from my boy, pushing 71
Well,
years old.
she'll be back. She'll be back on shortly. It's long.
It's long.
I know his phone number though, and I know he's out of Massachusetts. And you lean the phone number, you lean. I know his phone number for sure. Oh, you look like you. Good. You really just like.
Are all your cult members still with you tonight, Pauline? Do you people realize this is a fucking cult? Why don't you just go join the Scientologists? They're a better cult than Pauline, that's for sure. Pauline must... Did Pauline have to bail early tonight?
I think Pauline went to take her medicine. Did you want to take your medicine yet? Exactly. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Sorry about us talking, man. I can hear you.
Okay, is the idiot off the line?
Can you repeat that?
I don't see his name anymore.
Is the idiot off the line causing trouble?
Yeah, it seems like he is.
Be patient, Moors. She'll be back.
Okay, well, it may take a little minute for her to get back online. I guess it's just
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I know
okay.
We can hear you.
I just wanted to make sure. Okay, good. Now you can tell that we are kicking that butt because they are even messing with the technology over here, and that's okay. We're not mad at them because we're still not going to stop. We're still not stopping what we're doing. We're going to keep going. No matter what, we're going to keep going. We know that everything belongs to us, and we're not stopping, period. So no matter what, no matter what, we're going to keep going. This is the part that they were doing everything to try and stop us from getting to, is the transition piece. Because the transition piece is where they go out the door and we're here and we're doing what we need to do. We have to know the law with regard to who we really are. We have to know that. Okay. And we do. Everything written in red in all lowercase letters. That's how we speak. So with regard to the GSA piece, we are actually the GSA in red in all lowercase letters. That's another part that they did that we need to know, because we're not going to focus on them. We're going to stay focused on us. That's another part that we need to know. We're the GSA. We're the IRS. We're the Treasury. We're all of that. And so where we're going now is we're going to be speaking by affidavit to the subjects, because see, once we raise them from the dead, they're in subject status, and they have to hand off everything to us that we say hand to us. That's where we are now. That's where we are now. And there's nothing they can do about that. Just one moment. Are you there, Morris? Can you hear me? That's one of the Morris ones. Okay.
We hear you.
Listen, thank you so much for that, Morris. Let us not think that they want to, that there's not going to be, some snafus along the way. There will be, but that's okay, because, you know what I'm saying? Islam.
It's 46:42.
Let us, just one moment. I'm going to go ahead and mute just a couple of the lines because there's a little bit of information. I mean, yes, I want to make sure that we can all hear. Okay, Islam. Good.
Yeah, we can still hear your bullshit, Pauline.
You so much.
We can still hear your bullshit. We can still hear all your bullshit, Pauline. Are you still having a call tonight?
Hold on for just
What's going on?
Let me.
Are you still recording, Pauline? Because I'm anxious to stay here and keep talking.
So This is
So
again,
what, Pauline?
let us not think that we were going to get to this part and monkeys not be monkeys. It's just like that. So let's move forward and keep going. And I know that we're there now too. So again, this transition part that we're at right now, we're preparing to take hold of physical possession, because we already have possession of everything. But we're preparing to take physical possession of all that belongs to us, because we've done the work.
Good luck with that.
And so, just one moment. Boy, whew. We must, I'm telling y'all, we did it already. We did it already. It's a wrap. We won already. We won already. Let them be proof that we have. Yes, we did it. We did it. We know we did it. That's why you keep coming back. Be quiet. We won already, and they're mad. And that's okay, because we're not mad. We love them. We created them to be, we created them from monkeys, and they're actually saying that now on the public record. So anyway, we've dedicated some good time to them. We gave them the attention they sought. Now let's move forward. So in the coming weeks and months, now that we've established the financial system, because the financial system had to be established by the heirs. We had to open up the treasury. We had to implement the gold standard, and actually we implemented the gold standard first, then opened up the treasury. And then, and those are documents and proclamations that we put in place, because everything is based on us. And now that we've done that, when we speak to one another, we'll be able to go back and forth and do sovereign credits back and forth. We just have to make sure that there's no corporate anything involved in it, because the corporates will attempt. They may attempt. It's not guaranteed. But, because we're being given time, the Moors that are asleep are being given time to wake up. So we're moving now to begin moving those systems back and forth, the sovereign credits back and forth between one another for something. We already have titles. We already have, we already back everything. Everything is backed by us. We have to put those pieces in place. And so now we're going to be competent at speaking to one another and ensuring that we're not speaking to corporate. So that's what all that we've done is all about, is what we've been ensuring that we separate ourselves from all things corporate, so that as we move, they cannot interfere. Platforms is another something that at some point we will take full possession of it. But you know what? The platform that we're on right now belongs to us. But we're going to have some, there's going to be a little bit of pushback from the subjects. They're going to push back. They're going to push back. Because to whom much is given, much is required. So with the contracting piece, we're going to be contracting with one another. And those who have contracting experience or any type of administrative experience, in the coming months, we're going to start requesting from the heirs resumes in the coming months. And then we have to, and this is something that the heirs can start doing right now. Take your resume and every experience that you have on your resume, take that, and this is the part they didn't want us to do, but we're going to do it. Take all of your past experiences and convert them to sovereign affidavit. So, for example, I showed you all where I was a contracting officer with with the corporate in prosthetics. Well, I need to take all of those certificates and all of that stuff and do the same thing with them that I did with the birth certificate and all of that. Yes, in the chat. Yes. Because, see, there can't be any amalgamation in our processes, and that's what trying to put corporate stuff in there, that's amalgamation. We can't do that. So take what you have. I'll take those corporate contracting officer classes that I took, and I'm going to say, okay, these are the classes, these are the certificates from that, but these certificates are not valid for the government. They're not valid for our government. And then I will say these certificates, not certificates, but these affidavits from our government, which is all of us, these affidavits are valid contracting officer documents. And that just goes on the public record. So again, we're line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, as we continue moving into possession of the vast estate. So like our prophet said, you don't throw out the old stuff, but we are going to put it in its proper place where it actually has authority. And I'll tell you something that the ancestors showed me with regard to this just this morning. Just this morning. And in fact, let me see if I even have, I want to make sure that I show you let me see. I'm going to put a link in the chat of a video that I looked at this morning, and you can just look at it when you have time. But this video that I looked at is a GSA video, and it talks about delegation of authority for procurement. Okay? And of course, that caught my eye because I'm thinking we didn't delegate nothing to you all at all. So let me just see what you all are talking about here as far as delegations of authority and all of that. And when I looked, sure enough, when I looked at the video, here it is. I'm going to put the link to it in the chat for you. Because, see, when you're talking about land and all of that, this is what you're talking about. When you're talking about land and property and, you know, the things that we need, we know that we've taken any authority for the corporates to do anything, we've taken that authority back. So now that we've taken that authority back, we can use our own sovereign status. Okay? And that's what we're going to do. Let me make sure I shut that. And, you know, funny enough, they already have Moors that are the head of most of this stuff. You see. Here's the link to the video in the chat. And then take what you know about delegations of authority, because we're going to be using our own sovereign authority to get what we need. And this is getting what we need on a massive scale. A massive scale. Okay? The link is in the chat if you need to get take a look at that link. And then see how we can clean that up. Because see, all of everything that we did before, previously, is going to be what gives us access to the estate. But there can be no amalgamation. And just like Justice Yearmore put in the chat, he's saying they are at best heterogeneous hybrids, consisting of which means consisting of or composed of dissimilar elements or ingredients, not having a uniform quality throughout. That's key. Because what that means is that they're mixed with things, and those things don't really go together. So that's why we have to move away from anything corporate. We can't, you know, as we move into, it's going to be replaced with the vast estate. That is what reversion of the state looks like in the physical, in this realm. That's what it looks like in this realm. He also put in the chat, in genetics, said of a trait that can be produced by different genes or a combination of genes. Right. So that is, and that's we see that does not work. We see that doesn't work. The mixing and the amalgamation of not only genes, but processes. We must be sovereign and indigenous in all that we do. Indigenous, and I've talked about this before. Indigenous really means, in means not, di means two, and genus means gene, not of two genes, or not of multiple genes. We are the one. And that's why there's no corruption in what we do. And that's why there's no corruption in who we are. Because we are of one. And we have to keep that in mind as we move into possession of the vast estate. The reason I'm sitting before you right now is because when I went into the POW camp for them 11 glorious, beautiful days, I stayed completely separate and sovereign. I stood in my sovereign status, and there's no way. That system had to eject me out of it. It couldn't keep me. It couldn't. And all of us are that way. That system can't keep the sovereign heirs when we stay separate from it. That's why I'm sitting here right now and didn't sign anything and didn't pay anything and all of that. That's where we're going, is we have to stay apart from those systems. So keep that in mind as you go about your daily affairs. And also for the Moors that are on 9-to-5 jobs, you don't have to quit that. What you do is, outside of your work hours, go ahead and put on the public record a termination of all corporate contracts. To include termination, when you terminate the Social Security, a presumed contract with the Social Security number, which we've all done. Most Moors that I know have terminated that. The hybrids don't even want that. When you terminate that, you've terminated all presumed corporate contracts, and you can keep going right back and forth where you're going every day, okay? And you don't even have to hand that in to human resources because they're not going to know what to do with it anyway. All you're doing is proclaiming that you are the law and you are the government. Because, see, everything that we've done in the past is going to come in very handy as we put together our sovereign affidavits of the things that we've done, so that we can now make the transition smoother and smoother and smoother. It's going to be so smooth. It really is. It's going to be smooth. So those who have, no matter what type of experience you have, and, I could name some things where people will say, that can't, I did that and I know that doesn't have a place in our government. It does, it just doesn't look like what you did before. Okay, so there's nothing that was done previously that was not a hypothecation of the real. Yes, Justice Frank, status and estate is the same thing. Yes, it sure is. See, I was discussing with one of the Moors recently about one of the teachers from before, I believe it's Dr. Dilbert, Herbert Dilbert, I believe. Don't quote me on that. that appellation because I'm not sure about the appellation. But he was teaching some awesome stuff, very awesome stuff. And in some of his videos, yes, that's it, Justice Jermore. Just his appellation is Delbert Blair. That's who it is, exactly. He was teaching some awesome stuff. Awesome. So if you have a chance to look at some of his videos, look at him. Because he knew the difference between hybrids and the heirs. Just like we know the difference between hybrids and the heirs. And we'll make that clear even more so in the coming weeks and months. But he knew he was a Moor, but for some reason, there was not a lot of emphasis placed on nationality. And I don't blame him at all. He's a great teacher. He's a great teacher. But I believe that the timing for it may not have been there, which is not, it doesn't have anything to do with him. It just has everything to do with the ancestral timing. So if we take what we know about us, because we don't even have to pay attention to the hybrids, we can, because they're subjects. Yes, take what we know about us. That our nationality is what's going to allow us to safely move into this next piece. So again, take a look at all of the things that you've done in life, all of the JOBs that you had and all of that, and start thinking about how to turn all of that into an affidavit. Okay? Take all of the certificates that you've ever had, everything, and those need to be put in affidavit form. Because, see, when I was in the corporate, they said we were taking contracting officer classes, but we know, I know now that there's no such thing as a corporate officer. They're not officers. We are. So this is the only government that can that validates itself and says, yes, we're contracting officers. We're also justices. We're also postmasters general. We have all sovereign authority in our hands, and that's each and every Moor has that. Each and every Moor has that. So this is where we're going, okay? And that's another reason why I know that the energies are wanting to fight this call and all of that. That's all right. It's all right because we're still going there. When you look at that video, it really will kind of like open up, and for some it will bore you. Don't worry about it. If it bores you, just don't watch it. But for those who know, who can see where we're going in the same. It looks the same as the corporate, but it's not. It's sovereign. Okay. I always use the example of, you know, when we looked in the mirror and we thought we were black U.S. citizens, we thought we were that. We never were that. So what did? We stopped calling ourselves that. And then we started stating who we really are. We still look the same, but the documents and our mouths say differently. It's the same thing with this system that we're taking, that we're, you know, that's already ours. We're not really taking it. We're just beginning to properly use it. It's not what we called it before. We're the real. So nothing that we have said has changed. In fact, we're putting more emphasis on the things that we stated in the past. And we're going to continue putting more emphasis on that. So take what you've done previously and start lining up each, and I don't care how many JOBs you had before, don't leave anything out if you can. go back and do an affidavit, a resume affidavit. And I'm not sure if resume is even the right word. It kind of is, because resume and resume is the same thing. We're resuming, and we never stop. But if you come up with a better name for that, sovereign experience affidavit. And I like that better, sovereign experience affidavit. Then put that together. And again, everything that we've done in the past with terminations of corporate contracts, liens, writs, court actions, all of that should also be included on your sovereign experience affidavit. It's going to be necessary, because the Moors that are doing court actions and the ones that are doing, the liens and the things that make us they don't make us who we are, the things that illustrate who we are further than our own, word, and our word is all. So let me change that language a little bit. Those who are doing those sovereign actions of court actions and liens and so on and so forth, and are doing them, where they're in red and all lowercase letters, that's going to also determine, and not really determine is not the right word, it's going to illustrate initiative. It's going to illustrate, and that's not the only illustrator of initiative, it's not. Nationality is the initiative illustrator. In other words, if you've ever declared your nationality, because see, we know that we never needed their approval. We don't even need each other's validation. But as we're working together, and there's no but, we don't even need each other's validation, period. That's the end of that sentence. As we move forward, we want to be on the same page. That's what I'm trying to say. We want to be on the same page. We want to be unified and all of that. And that's where, because see, the court actions are going to come in as we move into the contracting piece, where there's any corporate who's trying to step outside of the bounds of who they really are. Because they're in subject status, and we're going to be speaking to them from our sovereign status into their subject status. And if they try and get outside that subject status and try to do something corporate and, recite corporate stuff as if we're corporate citizens, then court action time. And we will quickly remind them you're in subject status, and that is where you are. That is where you will stay. And we do that either verbally or in writing, or both. I will say this even about that, and about even the hybrids that come on the call. They're still working in service to the heirs, because their job, and let me just say this real loud, their job is any more that might be a little not as grounded in who they really are. Their job is to try and discourage them. That's their job. So that when the Moors get past what the hybrids are doing, they can be resilient back to themselves and know that no matter what a hybrid says, no matter what they say, our word is sovereign law. It's been that way since time immemorial. Though the hybrids that come on the calls, that's why we can say we love them. They're just being who we created them to be. We created them to act like pure monkeys when we stand up. They're just doing as they were created to do. We can't be mad at that. We created them that way. But we said, okay, anyone who can't get beyond what we're doing, then they're not quite ready yet. Just give them a chance to get ready. so that opposition doesn't seat them. Oh, that's good. So that opposition does not seat them and take them off of their stand, because we're standing on our squares. And we kind of got into this a little bit on the last call where, you know, some of us, the minute we meet any opposition from subjects, we back down and say, you know, well, they told us to do this, but we're going to do it this way just so we can get this through. We can't do that. Because where we're going, there's going to be some opposition, but we have to still be ourselves. Anytime and this is for those who've had any type of a JOB. When we went into the JOB, because we thought we were citizens at the time, whatever they said to do, even when we knew they didn't even know what they were talking about, we tried our best to do it. We tried our best to do it. And then the next week they would come and change it and say, oh, no, I was wrong about that. Y'all got to switch back everything y'all did last week and work overtime to do. They're not competent to govern, but we are. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be without us having to sit and discuss some things and change some things, upgrade, and you know, we're going to have to do that. Yes, Empress. Empress Patricia, she said that's how brainwashed we were. That is so true. Whatever they said to do, I don't care what it was, we were busy trying to find a way to do it. Well, we have to be even more so like that with what we're doing now. Yep, they come on the call, they make a little bit of noise, they mess with the technology, so I can't mute them for a minute or two, you know, but we know they can't keep that up because we told them, okay, do a little bit, but not much, period. That's why these calls are still going on. They get a little bit in here and there, you know, and that's going to turn some mores off, and some mores are going to be like, oh, well, we're not going that way. We got a little opposition. But when we were in them corporate jobs, if the boss said something, the quote-unquote boss said something, everybody was, I don't care what opposition was in the way, we was looking for ways around it. And then guess what? Whenever someone opposed us, we just repeated what the boss said. Didn't we? We just repeated what the boss said. We got to be the same way about the law, except we're the boss. We're moving into this place, okay? Any opposition from subjects, we just quote the law, and like I was telling you, when I was in the POW camp and I was doing court action, some of them were still running their mouths. That didn't stop me. Didn't stop me. You're going to get this law, period. Foreign hybrids come on the call and they do a few things, and they subjects. They're not even foreign hybrids no more. We raise them from the dead, they subjects. They come on the call and they do a few things, and then guess what? They go away. And then they may pop back in or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because we are not stopping. And we're basically just being being one of many examples of when you're opposed by a subject, that shouldn't stop you. This call goes on, and guess what? Even with all of that racket that they did, it's still going to go on to the record. It's still going on to the record. Still going to go on YouTube. And guess what? We didn't stop. We're not going to stop, period. We're going to keep going. And remember, more, and this is important as we move into this next phase. Okay, and when I say next phase, I'm specifically speaking to the Moors who have proclaim their sovereign status in red in all lowercase letters, who have terminated all corporate contracts and noted it properly where we speak in red in all lowercase letters. And when we're talking about corporate contracts, we're talking black ink and capital letters, and you know that. And stepped up as the creditor to all the nations of the earth. Yes, yes in the chat, yes, yes, yes on all of that. Yes. We are now, Empress Diane, thank you for that. We are now the head and not the tail, above and not beneath. Been that. We never were the tail. We never were beneath. We've always been the head. It's just that now we know it in here. We know it. So we're going to be moving into this place. And again, I was specifically speaking to the Moors who have terminated corporate contracts in red and noted the corpses in, you know, and that's going to be done on a wider scale. So don't worry about the Moors who haven't done it yet, because they're coming with us too. We just needed enough of us to do it to where that structure would say, okay, we're in subject status to them. We can't keep doing this. And that's what has happened. That's what you see happening. It has happened already. It's a wrap. So let's keep going with what we're doing. Let's ensure that as we continue to move forward in what we're doing, that we're looking at what we've done in the past, because we're going to be using systems that are raised from the dead, okay? And we're essentially restoring the ancient system. That's what we're doing, restoring the ancient system. On our land, because the ancient system never went anywhere. It's always been here. It's just been waiting for us to wake up and use it. That's where we're going. So speaking specifically to the Moors who have proclaimed their nationality in red in all lowercase letters, done the termination of corporate contracts, you have a declaration of trust on, or a proclamation of trust on the public record in red in all lowercase letters. You've done some liens, you've done some court actions. And if you haven't done any court actions yet, or you haven't done any liens yet, just start studying that process. It's in red in all lowercase letters. The documents and examples will be under this video on YouTube at Like Tajiri Bay. That's L-I-G-H-T. Tajiri is T-A-J-I-R-I, and Bay is B-E-Y. On that channel on YouTube, if you go there and look underneath, you'll see the documents there that you can pull down. You can edit them and change them and use them as you will, because they are on Moorish government letterhead. So now, those who've done those steps or are working on those steps, this is going to be important, because we're going to be opening up everything else to the Moors that are coming, that are on their way. And we have to actually, you know, that's where we're going. We have to make it so that when Moors come out of these POW camps, they have places to go, they have food, they have whatever they need. That's where we're going now, is procuring those things that we need. And procure, I love that word, because the root word is cure. We are the answer to every issue and every problem that we have, except we must do it unamalgamated. And where hybrids are concerned, when we say unamalgamated, when they're in subject status, it's not amalgamation. That's the point of raising them from the dead and saying you're a subject. We're not taking any amalgamation at all. That's what all of this means. The chat, I love it. Because you're proving that you know exactly what you're talking about. We are the sovereign, they are the citizen subjects, yes, raised from the dead. And now that we've raised them from the dead together, because we did that on a call together, then we have to remind them often. You're a subject. You're not corporate. You're a subject. When you're dealing with us, you're not corporate. You're a subject. Okay. So we're in the process of putting those documents together, the contracting documents, and even if you don't have any contracting experience, you can, if you know how to type on a computer, there's a place for you. If you don't know how to type on a computer and all you can do is pick up a phone, there's no skill set that our government cannot use. And I don't care if it's Fortune 500 or not, or janitor, or someone who's just sitting. We can use all of that. If you just sit, then you can stand and be point people to this and that and this and that on the land. So everybody, all hands on deck. We're getting ready. And we're already ready. We're actually just moving into the transition full scale. That's really what we're doing right now. It's moving full scale. So one of the next pieces among the many pieces that we're presenting and putting together and actually implementing is going to be contracting officer for the Moorish National Republic federal government. We already have our justices in place. All Moors are justices and consuls. We're also going to be putting, we're going to be doing everything that we've done in the past. We're going to be making it better. We're going to be making it better. And then widely distributing, and tributing is a better word, widely tributing, so that you have your documents where you need them to be, and that as we move forward, you just keep a check on the subjects that they're not corpses and don't be dealing with you as no corporate. They're subjects, and they're taking commands. We're not requesting anything. These are all commands that we're given. Okay, that's what we did when we were in the POW camp. That's what we're doing now, all of us. Okay, are there any questions about getting your sovereign experience resume affidavit together? Sovereign experience resume affidavit. And then when it comes to, again, this is the same thing we've been saying previously. We're going to keep enforcing these things that we've been saying because the documents are going to be key as we move into this next level that our ancestors are giving us, where access to the estate is concerned. Where things like the Social Security number are concerned, we're not using Social Security numbers, we're using sovereign security numbers. A sovereign security number, again, for example, my sovereign security number, if it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, with those, if before when I thought I was a citizen, it was that like 1, 2, 3-4, 5-6, 7, 8, 9. If it was that before, it's not that anymore. It's a whole different number. It is a number with no dashes, okay, and it's a number in red. And anything around it that's talking about the heirs is in red in all lowercase letters. And it has a sovereign thumbprint, and it has a sovereign red wet ink signature, or autograph rather, on it. I'll say this, just recently, and this is how powerful the thumbprint is, they found, and of course, they're saying that they found it in the Queen's collection, but all of the Vincent van Gogh was a famous painter. Well, we never really saw any of his real paintings. His real paintings and his real artwork has his thumbprint on them next to his signature, which means he was one of us, because their thumbprint, they don't use thumbprints, as we can see on all the documents we have. They don't use thumbprints at all. We use them. And they found that in the quote-unquote Queen's collection that he used his thumbprint next to his signature. That's how powerful, and that's how you know it's a real one, is it will have a wet ink signature and a bright red thumbprint. Wet ink. That's how we've always done things. So those are some of the principles that sets us apart and is going to keep us apart as we move forward. As many quote-unquote those doing business as contracting officers, because see, there's no department in the corporate that didn't have contracting officers, because somebody had to procure the goods. Somebody had to procure the goods, whatever it was. Somebody had to procure them. And it's going to be the same way with our government. Okay? And except that the infrastructure is already here. We just needed to put that infrastructure, we just needed to raise that infrastructure from the dead so that it would have our living sovereign nature, except that it's not sovereign, we're sovereign. And we just tell it what to do, like subjects. We tell the subjects what to do. And the subjects are really a system. Are there any questions about that? Any questions, comments, anything that about the sovereign experience resume affidavit?
Islam.
Oh, Islam.
Yeah, Justice Frank.
Yes.
Jeff, and I'm trying to. I believe I know you're right now. I'm a CDL, and I like to speak for all CDL drivers. What I'm going through, it's a mess. Now I got to renew my CDL after 38 years. I'm active, but with that, they call it a pandemic. Now, so much my CDL. First of all, they had a war name, so I can imagine. I'm from a small town called Wilson, North Carolina, my birthplace. Now I got to renew, and I keep putting it off 3 times. Now I can imagine me going in that small 10,000. I think it's like 150,000 now. I'm a country boy, so now the affidavit. I am so happy. This has been 11 years now with that CDL from North Carolina. And they put my feds on there, and I had to write out and get members. So now, this work I got to do, I have to let them know, look, this is supposed to be a little case. It's supposed to be a race. They're looking at me like they'll shoot you down there. And because I'm too smart.
Well, I see what you're saying, but I see what you're saying. So you're talking about a CDL license. Okay, for trucking, right? Is that correct? Commercial driving.
And my third trade, yes, right?
Okay, we can't tell sovereigns what to do, so I won't tell you don't go down there and renew that. But what I will say is that the one that you had previously, look at it, and then craft a sovereign experience affidavit, because you have the experience. Craft a sovereign experience affidavit and put CDL and all of that, because it stands for commercial driver's license. Just put that in red in all lowercase letters and put all of the same information that was on the other one on yours, except use our language. You don't have a name, you have an appellation, you don't have an address, you have a mailing location, etc., etc. And put it on government letterhead in red in all lowercase letters. And then you can also say, and this is what I'm saying with my contracting officer document, I'm saying specifically in my experience affidavit, because we're hiring ourselves, by the way. We're not, corporates are not doing a thing for us. We're doing all of this ourselves. But what you say is all corporate documents are not valid for our government, because they're not. So those COTAR, and some who are in contracting know what a COTAR is. A COTR is a contracting officer certificate or whatever that they gave us when we were preparing to take over these departments at the VA and all of that.
Because
Well, we just say, you know, we're the contracting officer, we're the kotar and all of that, but it's in red and all lowercase letters. So I'm taking the old ones, I'm not renewing them because that's finished. That's what the transition is. The transition is we're not that, we're this. We're the actual government, and we're here. We showed up. We're on the scene. We're on our land, and been on our land, really. We never went anywhere. Okay? So everything that you had previously, just put it in red and all lowercase letters and turn that in to whoever, you know, and you're not turning it in. You're really just notifying them, Justice Frank. Notify them that you have a CDL. It's just a real one this time and not the fake one. Because the land is yours. Who is it that can license you on your own land? You. You see?
thank you, Sister Lake. I not only do I understand, I even understand. Now, what I'm working on right now is called understand. That means it's a little bit, you know, because I'm definitely from there. I don't want to get hurt and shot. Now, what I'm saying is, now I gotta. Now I'm sitting in this office because there's not that many people where I'm at, and I don't want no trouble. So that's why I thank you for helping out. You know, like to be patient and, you know, like I said, you can be scared, but you can't have no fear. And I got to put this stuff on there because they dealing with race, and that's not applicable for me because I don't have a race.
Right.
See, but see, now I got to let them know this in the nicest way I can possibly come, and that's where you came in, and I thank you very much because I'm learning so much. I'm putting everybody, Dilbert, Blair, Valentine. I've been doing it so long, and when you came along, my God, thank you. Like Gomer Paul said. Now next is
we need to possess the estate.
Well, I know it's lowercase. Now I'm talking to them though. That's what I'm trying to get you to picture this. and now they always put me with a sister, an unconscious act. They make sure you got to find here, you got to find here, and so now with the erudite lesson you giving me, and I'm trying to just calm them down a bit because I already know I made them. You know, I brought you here. You know how Mama said, I brought you here and I can take you away. So now I got to learn patience and I know everything you said. And like I said, I definitely understand what you said. Now I'm trying to understand it now because I got to actually sit there and deal with these people. And when you're talking to a orangutan and a chimpanzee, Jesus Christ, you know how to go. So I have to do this.
Let me say this, Justice Frank. If you are not ready to go beyond their opposition, then think about what you're doing. Because
it's just one thing
you're going to get at least one sleeping somebody who still thinks that they're a corporation and they can tell people what to do when they can't, because they're looking at the heirs when they're looking at you.
I just want to say one second.
The systems are already aligning themselves with everything, and they're already aligned with what we're doing. But Justice Frank, if you think that you're going to go through that process with completely unopposed, that's rare. It happens, but it's rare. So give it some thought and always demonstrate at the level of your understanding.
You hit it. That's why I told you I understand it. That's not my problem. My problem is I understand it. See, the problem is them. I don't have no problem. That's the scary part. I don't have the fear, and I know how. That's what I mean, because I really listen to you. I mean, day one. There you go, right there. That's where I'm. See,
okay.
I need a nationality card. Document.
Right. You see, we have to rebut their document. We have to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know.
And when we do that properly, they will not. There's nothing they can say and do that. When we do that properly, it is actually the law that those things be honored by the subject.
Well, thank you. I want to support you, though. See, you're right. I'm going to show you how. Because now, I was so happy. This was like 11 years ago. I got my picture of my feds on my CDL. But however, it still was a war name. But see, I had no knowledge of that until I met you. Thanks to Ty Rebay. All that coming in play. So, like I said, that's why I overstand it. But my problem is, you know, I don't want no trouble. So, they is the one. It's not me. That's what I was trying to tell you. You know, like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's what I would suggest, Justice Frank, because you said that a couple of times, so I see that there's a little bit of, you know, a little bit of fear. Here's what I would suggest. Okay, not fear, but just a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit, just a little bit.
I know.
Here's what I would suggest.
I know.
Well, this is a suggestion because they're not that crazy. When you raise them from the dead, they're not crazy at all. Actually, they do exactly what we tell them to do.
All right.
And if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would not be sitting here telling you that. But I know that when we raise them from the dead and do it by court action, that they will do exactly as we tell them to do on the spot. So here's the thing. Do the demonstration where because see, if you sit down and you're trying to chat with them about it, okay? If you sit down and try and chat with them, they already know they have jurisdiction over you because you still think you have to explain it to them as if they're some authority. They're not. We are it. I'm telling you, we're the only authority on the land. So before you do anything, do the study on who the government is and who those subjects are. And then when you feel that you understand who's who, because that's really what it comes down to, who's who. They don't get to dictate nothing. So what you do is don't sit down. This is just a suggestion, and of course, we can't tell sovereigns what to do. Do as you will. But if it were me, this is what I would do. I would put the documents together on our government letterhead, and I would send by mail. I wouldn't go in and talk to them because the only thing they know is subject status this and subject status stuff. Because we're supposed to know our government stuff. And then if you go into the CDL regulations, you will see where there's room for what we're doing. Because we created a back door to everything in whatever we told them. But have you gone into the CDL regulations and looked at them closely to find out where your documents must be accepted? Because think about this, Justice Frank. You know what? If you had, you wouldn't have the little anxiety that you have, and we get it because we've been anxious before too.
I'm just trying to be honest.
One thing
I understand. What I'm saying is this:
I know you do,
and they sick.
I know you do.
What I'm saying is, I understand all the documents. Believe me, all of them. But now I don't really have them in my hand. I know I got them on my laptop. And I got to and I got to print it out, and I got to present it to them. But see, now I'm a little bit scared of what they're going to do because they're always putting a sister with me.
Okay.
Islam, Justice Frank. Islam, light.
Go ahead, Nobility.
Let me interject real quick. Nip this in the bud.
Mm-hmm.
Islam, Brother Frank, Noble Frank.
Yes, brother.
What you need to do, like said and like say, study, and you have to be able to articulate to them what it is that you're trying to do. We know you understand all that, but you got to understand enough to articulate it to them. Like you say, it's not you, it's them. So you got to be able to articulate what it is that you want to do to them so they can understand. Islam.
That's beautiful because let me say this, Justice Frank. Hold on for just a minute. I'm going to mute you just a little bit because there's a little bit, I want to be sure that we hear this part. For sure. Justice Frank, what do the foreigners do when they come over here, doing commercial stuff for their foreign corporation? What do? They don't get a CDL. They come with their own quote-unquote government documents, and that is how they do it. What we're doing is not new. It's not new. You must come with your government documents that validate who you are. And the thing is, you're already, you can prove that you have the training because you have their documents too, except their documents are not real. And all the other, everybody else that comes over here already know it's not real. My contracting officer documents are not real because that's not by status they're not real officers. By status they're not. By status I am. By status you are the officer, the CDL officer. So think about that. The reason I said look in their regulations is because there's going to be something in there that, and this will help with your transition, okay? There's going to be something in there that says if you're from a foreign country, these documents are not necessary, but you must prove that you have blah, 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 blah. Well, we're not foreign, they're foreign. But when we put them in subject status and raise them from the dead and then show them that this has been Morocco the whole time because the Moroccan government is speaking, then show them in their regulation that anybody that's not the United States Corporation Company citizen can still have move about on their land commercially. There's something in the CDL regulations that says that that's valid. So I would encourage you, and this is why we dig up old manuals and training manuals and things like that so we can look through them and see, okay, what's going on here, because we know that we wouldn't have let them do anything that completely cuts us out during this transitionary period. We would have never let them do anything on this land that's why there always has to be one of us in whatever they do. Because there has to be a way for us to transition smoothly and safely. Look in the CDL regulations. And whoever it is on this call, if you look in the CDL regulations and you see it, can you please text it to me so that we can put it out on the call? Look through the CDL regulations for anything that says CDL documents are not necessary if you have this or this or this. Because I know it's there. I know it's there. So Justice Frank, if you have some time to do that, do it, because it's actually, in fact, that needs to be kind of like you can't tell sovereigns what to do, but it's a priority because there are a lot of others out there who need the remedy that you're speaking of. They need the remedy that you're speaking of. Okay? So if you can, when you get some time to look that up, make it a priority to look that up, Justice Frank. Please make it a priority to look that up so that you can allay your own fears about that process. Okay? And let me make sure.
Yeah, all right. I don't have no.
Okay.
I don't have fear. I'm just a little scared because when I say they sick, I mean. See, I know you have to have the documents. I know all the documents that from day one that you put out there, and now I'm trying to gather the document because my scanner fax machine is down because I can't download it. I know how to fill them out and everything. I noticed say here you go. but they always put a sister with my brother, and so I say, here's the documents, and they probably gonna do what they want to do anyway. But I know about.
Well, look in their stuff. That's why I said look in their regulations and see, Justice Frank, because you're gonna find what you need in there. There's an outlet there.
I was trying to tell you, I did that. That's how I got my feds on my CL. That's what I was trying to tell you. But
it's still there. It's still there.
But I didn't know until I met you that, wow, I got my feds on there, but they got all war names. So what I'm trying to do is correct it. So I know the documents that you need to correct it. I just don't have in hand.
Okay.
So when I go there, I want to have all the documents. Like, for example, nationality card. Now, I like the one you got because it's red, it's lowercase, and then some of these nationality cards, they say race. I like my nationality card say non-applicable. That's how well I know the documentation. I ain't got no race. I'm more. I'm more America. Then you got Yaffa Bay. She said, well, don't call me more-ish because Scott-ish. What do you mean ish? I am a more. So I understand all that. What I'm saying to you is I got to deal with these morons. Now I got to go.
I see what you're saying. You said that already. You said that already, Justice Frank. You said when you raise them from the dead by court action, they're going to, you know, Justice Frank. I can hear it in your voice.
Court action though. When I get there, remember I'm from Kakalaki. They ready to hurt you.
Okay.
So I gotta be peaceful. Well, I learned that from you. Don't get excited. And I know. See, I say I'll overstay. I didn't say I want to innocently demonstrate because I'm gonna have to go.
Justice Frank. Justice Frank. I heard you when you said that. I heard you when you said it because you said that several times. Okay, I've heard you.
I know all
and what I'm saying to you, and I know it. Do not. But here's my thing.
You got some girl. You're a genius.
Go ahead, Justice Frank.
Okay, you're a genius. The ancestors are.
No, but we're talking about you now because you need remedy, and you are your remedy. Okay, and so here's the thing. Don't expect their documents to be in red and all lowercase letters. Don't expect that. You give them the right one.
That's what, there you go. And I just want to confirm it with you. I know what I got to do. I got to get in the right one, and I got to get it in my hand. I got to present it to them. Documentations. And they're going to probably do what they want to do anyway. But anyway, I wanted to put it, this is the law.
Okay, I'll tell you what they're going to do. May I tell you what they're going to do?
Already know. I'm from North Carolina. Leg back on, and they go along with it.
I have proof for that.
They do go along with it though. So no matter what they do, I am the law and the government. So this is what you got to do. I'm not asking you for anything. This is what you must do. They probably say, but I'm still going to walk out with my CDL. That's my point.
Okay.
I know
we got your point. We got the point.
All right.
We got the point, Justice Frank.
All right.
Okay. Let me prove to you that.
I don't feel I'm scared because they're crazy.
Okay. All right. Corpses are crazy, but subjects are not. Now, let me say this. I can prove to you that they will fix whatever it is in their system, because it's not their system, it's ours. Let me prove to you, and I proved it already. Okay, I stayed separate from the corpses when I was in the POW camp. And then go back and look at the video. I showed you where on the document that's in their system that said she got to get out of here, out of this jail. They put in their system that Pauline Denise Ritchie was in blue in capitis dimiutio minima. And they left the city of Federal Way in black. So when we stay separate from them and give them command, they will fix their system, because it's not theirs, it's ours. They'll fix the system so that it says what it needs to say. Now, am I Pauline Denise Ritchie in blue in capitis dimiutio minima? No. I'm not. I told them who I was in red in all lowercase letters. So what did they do? Alter their system so that the one that they, in their system, whoever it is that was let out, was not in black in all uppercase letters like a graveyard. So again, stay separate from them. Stay in your sovereign status. And it don't matter, because I didn't care what they did in their system, in that system. It's our system. But see, I know we have the authority to change that. And we proved that we could change it. The documents are online on YouTube. You can see them, where they switched it from all capital letters in black ink to in capitis dimiutio minima, which is first letter capitalized and the rest of them in lowercase letters, and it's in blue. Because they can't set a corpse free. They can't set a corpse free. They can't set nobody free, really. But we have to state who we are, and then whatever they put in their system, in the system, the subject system, is what they put in the subject system. It's what we told them to put in the subject system. You see what I'm saying? So, Moors, the only way that system is going to say what it needs to say in order for us to continue moving is when we proclaim, no matter what, that we are not them. That's the only way, Justice Frank, the only way that system that we put in place, our sovereign subject system, because it's a subject. It's not sovereign, it's a subject. The only way that system is going to say what it needs to say is if you stay separate from them and don't try to negotiate, because you can't negotiate with a subject, or else who's the subject? We gotta get it straight. Their corpses are crazy. We know that. Subjects are not. Subjects know that the sovereigns command, and they have to do what we say. So it's still all on us. It's still all on the gods. Still. And that's no matter what we do, no matter where we go, no matter what's going on. We have to be separate from them and not corporate, and do not negotiate with them, because that is not how this works. The gods don't negotiate with the subject. We give commands and let that be it. And then you just proceed as if your orders, as if your commands were followed, because they are followed. We just proceed. That's how we do. And then, again, if you're ever stopped or pulled over, you do the same thing we all been doing when they pull us over. And they'll stop doing that too. They'll stop doing that when you stand, but if you don't stand, they're going to keep doing it. Because we told them to assist in standing. Do certain things so that we stand. And if that means repeating the same test over and over until we stand, then that's what they're going to do. So that even if we perceive threat, duress, and coercion, we still say, well, whatever happens, I'm going to stand and be myself on my own land. We have to do it, period. This is a new year, Justice Frank, and all more. This is a new year. This is our time. That's why we're getting ready like we are. And we're not really, we're already ready. We're already ready. We just have to competently proclaim and then do. See, we do first. We demonstrate first, and then the ancestors will move on our behalf. It happens every time. I used to wonder I used to wonder, why is it that the ancestors didn't give me the answer beforehand in terms of, like, I would be looking for things and I would look things up on the internet and then I would say, okay, this resonates with my truth center, so I'm going to put this in here and then I'm going to demonstrate it. It was only after I demonstrated it that the ancestor said, that was correct. That was correct. That was correct. And then after that, they start showing me where all these other different places where it says that that's correct. All these other places. But I had to demonstrate first. And that's not blind demonstration, because the whole time I'm in contact, direct contact with my inner ancestral energy. And that's why the spirit and the metaphysical is so important. So that you're not blindly doing anything. You're actually seeing with your third eye, which is your first eye. Okay? That, don't overlook that spiritual aspect. Please don't overlook it, because it can see. We can see.
The sound went off.
This is just Frank. She'll be back. She's kind of like talking to me, because I've been, like I said, I'm 71 this year, and man, they crazy. I don't know what. But the overstand part, I mean, I know you have to put these documents in. I know the documents to put in too. But what I needed to hear from her, she gave it to me, is don't pay them no mind.
Can you hear me?
Stand.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
Yeah, we know. Go ahead, Justice Frank. Go ahead. You were saying something. Go ahead. Were you saying something, Justice Frank? Okay. I thought Justice Frank was saying something, but I guess not.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure that I didn't interrupt you, Justice Frank. But what I was saying was, you know, we have to tell them. They don't get to tell us, you know, and our ability to competently do that is the test. That's the test that we have right now as Moors. And even with regard to the moorishe part, I heard what you said about that. And she's right and we're right. Everybody's right about that. Whether you say you're a Moor or you say you're Moorish, you're still right. Why? Because we're Moors on this earth plane. We're also Moorish on this earth plane because there's a part of us that's not that's the God. You see what I'm saying? There's a part of us that's the God. There's a part of us that's not from you. That's not that exists in dimensions otherwise. You see what I'm saying? So we are Moors on this plane. We're also Moorish on this plane. Because we are God manifested in the flesh. Yeah, it is. Because we're part Moor and part God. We're part ancestor, you know.
I'm doing etymology too. Epistemology.
Yeah, yeah. We're the all.
Numerology. I'm still doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So anyone who says we're Moors, they're right. Anyone who says we're Moorish, they're right too. You know. Anyone who says we're the gods, that they're right. Because we are the all. That's it. That's it. So are there any other questions or comments or anything of that nature? Any questions, any comments about where we're going? And some people are saying we don't need to do all this and we don't need to do all that. If you don't want to move forward, you know, with this direction of, because there's a protocol to taking back the estate, or the full use of the estate. There's protocols to it, and those protocols start with nationality. We must be the law and the government from the very beginning, which we always have been. But we have to ensure that as we say these things and take and start, you know, utilizing the vast estate, where we're not thinking we have to pay corporate, there are some things we have to do. To whom much is given, much is required. And anyone who doesn't, you know, if you decide that, no, I don't want to go, I don't want to do all of that, I don't think it takes, okay, that's fine. I know that we you know, we're going to move forward this way because we have to take back everything. Everything we have to actually be operating and governing. Everything. Everything. It has to be led by Moors. And that's what's manifesting now. Okay. So, you know, those typers did not stop with the paperwork. I mean, you had a stack of papers like this just to, you know, just to get a JOB, and you had a stack of papers like this that's 3.5 feet thick just to think that you were purchasing a domicile, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have to do all of that, but there are you know, processes that we must competently state so that we know that we're competent heirs. An estate this large, you can't carry and guess on an estate like this. You actually have to know what you're doing. And we do. You know, we do. There are many, many, many more who know. In fact, we all know because we have all knowing in us. We just have to implement it. We have to manifest it. We're on this dimension, so let's manifest on this dimension. Okay, and that starts with governing our mentals first, knowing that we're not corporate. Having said that, we have been, we're going to go ahead and bring the call to a temporary stopping place, but hopefully all are doing well with regard to the 3-day fast that we're on right now, because we always try to, and in fact, we don't try to, we bring our new year in. We wish peace for the year that we're transitioning from, and then we bring in the new year by fasting and study and all of that. Fasting, study, everything. Because we're, you know, our New Year celebration should not even look like what it used to look like when we thought we were citizens. You know, it shouldn't even look the same because we're competent heirs now. And I'm not saying we won't do that kind of celebrating, because we will at some point. But right now it's about this vast estate. It's about this vast estate and the full access to it by the heirs. So if there be no other questions or comments or anything of that nature, peace and grand rising, indigenous, natural divine heir, Islam.
Happy New Year, Moors. Grand Rising to the Moors.
Happy New Year, Grand Rising.
Grand Rising. Happy New Year.
Like some love.
Islam, more.
What's up?
Islam.
Islam.
Grand Rising.
Happy New Year.
Islam.
Happy New Year, bears.
Happy New Year. Islam.
Grand Rising. Happy New Year.
Islam. Grand Rising.
Happy New Year to the great Moors of Mexico.
Yes, Islam.
Northwest.
Islam. Islam. Indeed.